How good could Devin Booker be in the NBA? Let's get into this. Devin Booker and the Phoenix Suns are coming off a very successful season. After season of not being able to make the playoffs and being known as one of the bottom feeders of the NBA, just making the playoffs for the Phoenix Suns was a big success. But not only did they make the playoffs, they actually made it all the way to the NBA Finals. So obviously this was a very successful season, and it shows the growth that this Phoenix Suns organization has had. And the best part of this Phoenix Suns team making the playoffs and making it all the way to the NBA Finals is, besides Chris Paul, who they brought in this season, this Suns organization and roster is built up of all young and up-and-coming players. And what that means for you is this is very sustainable going forward. This is not just going to be a one-year thing where you have only older players in your team and you have maybe 1 or 2 more years to actually win a championship, and if not, then the ship has really sailed at that point. But when you have a young roster like this Phoenix organization does, this can be very sustainable for years to come, and these players are only going to get better over time. And now that they not only have playoff experience under their belt, but actually finals experience under their belt, they're only going to get better in the playoffs going forward and only going to be a more dangerous team. But you can obviously look at this season for the Suns and say it's a failure because they did make it to the finals, which is obviously a great success for them, but they weren't able to win it. And when they were going into the finals, they were definitely favored to win that pretty heavily, and they didn't end up coming out with that championship. So you may say that's a failure in that perspective, but in my opinion, they weren't even supposed to make the playoffs this season, and if they were, they weren't supposed to go on. And these players just have more seasons under their belt and more off seasons under their belt, because in the off season, that's really the time when you work on your game and really improve. So as the years goes on, I personally think the Suns team is just going to continuously get better if they're able to keep all their young players on the team. But now let's get on to Devin Booker. Obviously throughout these playoffs, Devin Booker had an amazing playoff series, and what this proves to me personally is not only is Devin Booker a regular season player, because there are a few guys in the NBA that are definitely superstars, but they're more regular season players, where they just put up amazing numbers during the regular season, but when it comes down to the playoffs, the pressure just gets to them and the lights are too bright for them, and they just are not the same player as they were in the regular season. But for Devin Booker, that's completely not true. In the playoffs, he might even be getting better, which is crazy to say, and very few guys are like that, where they get better when it comes down to it, and it comes down to the playoffs and finals and clutch time. Devin Booker is definitely one of those guys, but other guys that come to mind when you think of that is Kobe Bryant, which is someone a lot of people compare Devin Booker to. Michael Jordan, obviously, as well. There's just very few players that actually get better as the pressure raises, and Devin Booker is definitely one of those guys. Every season Devin Booker has played in before this previous season, he actually never made the NBA playoffs, and it was due to no fault of his own. The Phoenix Suns organization was just never able to put a good enough roster around Devin Booker to even give him a chance to make the playoffs in a tough Western Conference. But everything changed this previous season when the Phoenix Suns were able to put a good head coach around him and good players around him and bring in Chris Paul and really tie everything together, and finally they were able to make the playoffs and make it all the way to the NBA Finals. But even though Devin Booker before this last season never even made the playoffs in his career, it doesn't mean that he wasn't a superstar in this league. He was putting up these crazy numbers throughout his entire career. It's not like this previous season was a one-year wonder and he just had an amazing season this year because he was playing with Chris Paul. Even when he was the main guy, well, he still is the main guy now, but even when he was the only good player basically on his team for the Phoenix Suns, he was still putting up these incredible games and putting up these incredible numbers game in and game out. So Devin Booker was definitely a superstar throughout his entire career so far. But obviously Devin Booker is already pretty well established in this league, but where do I personally think he can go from here, and how much better do I personally think Booker can get? I personally think that Devin Booker has a very similar game to Kobe Bryant, honestly, but he just has a newer age version of Kobe's game. But what do I mean by that? So obviously Devin Booker can score in any level of the court, and he's a true 3-level scorer. But let's start with his ability to get to the basket. So Devin Booker is definitely very crafty when he gets to the basket and can finish around taller defenders and very athletic defenders who can really block shots and finish around them with pretty crafty layups. But also something that he can do is he's definitely sneaky athletic, and he can definitely get posterizing dunks over taller and more athletic defenders. We have seen it in the past. So Booker is very prolific at getting to the basket and finishing around the basket when he does get there. But now let's move on to Devin Booker's mid-range game. So this is something that coming into the NBA he definitely had, but ever since he was in the NBA, this is definitely something he has been improving every single season. So Booker is very prolific at that pull-up mid-range shot, which we've definitely seen a lot more of, especially in these playoffs. And that shot's a very prolific shot in my opinion, and a very effective shot, because when the defender is really tight on you, if you quickly do a little dribble pull-up and into that pull-up mid-range shot, you can get a lot of space on that jump shot and get a pretty good open look. So I think that's a very effective shot, and Devin Booker is very effective at that. Also, one thing he has, and one reason why I think he's using footwork, and that's personally one of my favorite shots you can do, because you get so much space and such great looks even if an amazing defender is guarding you. It's just almost impossible to guard it very effectively, that post turnaround fadeaway, and that's one of the things that Devin Booker completely mastered. But now moving on to his three-point shooting ability. This is definitely the biggest thing that he came in with coming into the NBA. He was always known as an amazing shooter, and in the NBA that's no different. He's able to hit catch and shoot three-point jump shots, as well as he's able to create for himself at that three-point line with step backs, dribble pull-ups, side steps. He's just very prolific when he gets to do. He definitely could hit threes, but Devin Booker is definitely the next level of three-point shooter than Kobe Bryant was, and he's definitely a lot better from that three-point range than Kobe Bryant was. So that's why I'm personally thinking that Devin Booker is kind of a new age version of Kobe Bryant in terms of his offensive game. Not that he's better than Kobe Bryant, obviously, but it's just in terms of his offensive game, it's a newer version. Not better either, just a newer version. So where do I personally think Devin Booker could be in his career enough and has great work ethic to get to that point in the future? But anyways, let me know what you guys think in the comments. Do you think Devin Booker could become a top 3 player in the league one day, or do you not agree with that? But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and if you did enjoy, please leave a like and subscribe and hit that post notification bell. It really helps me out a lot. Until the next time, peace out, guys.